What's going on today, YouTubers? Welcome to another edition of Walking Reviews. Today we're going to be taking a look at a custom knife by a South African maker, JD van Deventer. And this is, I believe, his newest or one of the new models from him. It's called the Pinstripe. A very EDC friendly size little flipper. So let's go ahead and jump into the specs. We have a 2 3/4 inch blade of, I want to say RWL 34, but it might be Bowler N690 now that I'm thinking about it. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's Bowler N690. So, like the favorite steel of the South African makers. They love that Bowler N690 steel. So as far as blade shape goes, pretty classic drop point, nothing fancy. I'd say probably the fanciest part of the blade is the little mirror polished flats there. But not super thick blade stock, but not super thin either. A lot of kind of smaller knives will sacrifice blade stock in an attempt to make the smaller blade, but this one actually has pretty decent thickness blade stock, probably equivalent to like your 0450 type blade stock, but a slightly hollow grind from about 3/4 of the way down, very thin behind the edge. Just really great for light duty EDC. Not the biggest, longest blade, so maybe not heavy food prep, but like light stuff, you know, just making lunch or whatever. Yeah, this thing is came extremely sharp from JD van Deventer, and just a real pleasure to use the blade. I've been kind of moving up in blade size lately in an attempt to broaden my interest, and it's nice to kind of get a hold of a smaller knife that I like so much. Yeah, so you know, packages, like I said, light food prep, that kind of thing. It's going to be really great for. As far as the handle length goes, 4 inches exactly. So just under 7 inches overall. You can see the handles are that really nice lightning strike carbon fiber with like copper wire, so you get a little bronze look to it. Pivot hardware on the show side is that proprietary stuff, but JD was smart enough or kind enough to make the locking side. He kind of like bored out the middle of the proprietary and put in a Torx hardware. You can see here that the blade does run on IKBS. The detent is ceramic, but the IKBS is stainless steel. There is Mr. Van Deventer's maker's mark, and there on the opposite side is that little IKBS symbol. Other than that, sterile blade. Really, I like that he didn't go too big on the markings. Just enough that you can see it's made by him, and then obviously the IKBS, which is, I think it might be required. But other than that, a beautiful blade with that mirror polished flat and the satin grind on the bevels there. No jimping or anything. I think for a very light duty knife like this, you don't need it. So we are dealing with a subliner lock. That's a stainless steel lock bar that's been, actually that might be titanium. I'll have to check on it. I think it's stainless steel, but it's very possible that that's titanium. So the flipping action, actuated here by this nice and rounded and jimped flipping tab. You can see it's got pretty good run of jimping on there. Flipping action is very, very fast. I didn't expect much of a detent when I bought it. I was just kind of assuming it would be kind of lighter in the detent department, but he did a really good job of dialing that detent in, which it doesn't stop it from being nice and smooth, but it gives you a really nice responsive flipping action. You can see the ball bearings there for the IKBS. There's your lockup, perfect lockup, just enough for the lock, the liner lock to fully engage and no more, and extremely easy lock release, which is why I think that it's probably stainless steel lock bar. On the locking side here, we have this very unobtrusive pocket clip, a little spring pocket clip. Normally I'm not a big fan of that style, but on this I think it works really well, because it's trying to stay out of the way of that beautiful carbon fiber, and it does a good job. Just kind of rides there along the spine. It also carries very well in the pocket because of the location of the pocket clip. It sits right against the corner of your right pocket, and I don't think that that's swappable because he did mill out. You can see the carbon fiber's been milled to accommodate the pocket clip. It is standoff construction, and they are located at the very bottom, which leaves you with an extremely open build. Also an extremely lightweight build. I don't think this is 2 ounces. I think it's probably under 2 ounces. I haven't weighed it, but it weighs nothing. I mean, it's very featherweight. So yeah, that open construction, very easy to clean, maintain, all that kind of good stuff. So as far as value goes, this kind of jumped to the front of the line in front of a few different knives for me. Well, the fit and finish is really nice. It doesn't look like it right now because the blade, the pivot screw is a little bit loose. I took this knife apart and cleaned it up a little bit, and I didn't remember to Loctite the pivot screw, so my bad. But it was perfectly centered out of the box, and it will be again once I tighten the pivot screw. Fit and finish is really nice. The one little gripe I probably have on that is the milling for the pocket clip is a little bit sloppy, as you can see there, just a little bit sloppy. That's pretty much the only gripe that I have. The pivot screw with the Torx hardware, it's not pretty, but I prefer this slightly uglier version, which accommodates Torx hardware, as opposed to, you know, it looking exactly like this, but then me having to have the special tool. So yeah, I don't mind the slight ugliness of the locking side pivot screw to accommodate Torx. Other than those little gripes, fit and finish is pretty much perfect. You can see the blade sits just about flush in the handle when it's closed. So you really, this is one of the nicest knives in pocket that I've had in a while. As far as value goes, that's another one of the big reasons that I wanted to have this jump the line. Like I said, this is a custom knife, but at the time of this video, this one that I bought was, I think, $330. I saw a G10 version for slightly less. So if you can find them, I think these are one of the best deals in custom knives at the moment. There are like novice custom knife makers that charge more money for less knife. This is a pretty outstanding deal. JD van Deventer is not a novice knife maker. He's he's pretty close to a master. I know he's a member of the South African Knife Makers Guild, and that's not taken lightly. He makes extremely nice stuff. I have another one of his knives that I'm going to be doing a video on in a little while, but I think this knife is one of the best deals going in custom knives right now. $300-ish for a super awesome little EDC. Ergonomics I didn't mention. Really nice, really nice. You have just that little cutout for the lock bar where your finger sits nicely. There is no kind of curvature whatsoever to the handle, so I'm sure all of you guys have handled a knife with pretty much straight handles before, and that's exactly what this feels like. Very comfortable, very usable, nice pinch grip use. It does swell slightly, so it starts out a little bit thinner and then swells slightly towards the butt of the handle there. So it's nice and secure in the hand, and I can get a full 4-finger grip. There's nothing. You're able to use pretty much all of the handle on this. So yeah. So for like $300-ish, I don't think you can find a whole lot better out there right now. And I know a lot of guys think to themselves, well, I can never get into the custom knife type game because they're ridiculously expensive. This is brand new from JD van Deventer. It's not used. I didn't find this used on the secondary market. They're just inexpensive custom knives. So I highly recommend, if you guys can find them. This one I found on, I believe, Tri-City Custom Knives. But if you can find them out there, I'd say pick them up. Yeah, he did a really great job, at least on this one. And from what I've seen of his other stuff, I can pretty much guarantee you that the rest of these will be nice as well. So yeah, if you can find them, grab them, because I think they're probably one of the best deals going in the custom knife market right now. All right, guys, that's going to do it for this video. Thanks for tuning in, and stay tuned. I've got too many knives to count coming up for review. All right, guys, bye-bye.